Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Ground Zero Everyday Leaders. I have a very interesting guest with me, an educator on the ground, a passionate learner herself who wishes to give so much back to the world. She is the principal of one of the most prestigious schools in Vasco, Goa. Her name is Mrs. Anupama Mehra. Ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good evening, Alan, and thank you for having me here today. Such a wonderful platform to reach out to so many people. The pleasure is all mine.
Well, having an educator on the show kind of makes it even more exciting. We believe that educators in many forms, in any form rather, is the need of the hour today. And the world is in so much of distress, despite of the development that the world has made or rather the advancement the world has made in technology and so on and so forth. The human connect, which is a missing component more and more as we find out, is the need of the hour, and educators can bridge that gap. And it's wonderful to have worked with you and to have been a trainer in one of the events along with you, and which is what today I'm sure the audience would be privileged to be listening to some of the exciting things that you have to share with us. It reminds me of great educators whom I've loved to read about. I read about a lot of educators and business owners. But when I talk about educators, people who come to mind straight away are people like Mr. Sandeep Desai, who I understand that he takes the Mumbai locals to actually beg for money, to actually create fund to run his rural schools in Rajasthan and Maharashtra. And then we have people like Anand Kumar, who is the Super 30 hero. And then we have people like Abdul Malik, who has a passion to teach, and to save time, he swims around 30 minutes rather than taking a bus, which is a route of around 3 hours to get into the school in one of the schools down south in Kerala. Such are the passionate educators out there. And certainly to having you, ma'am, on board. By the way, for the sake of the audience, I must mention that you are ma'am comes out as a vivid writer, a voracious reader, and this is where she brings in so much of energy, I'm sure, from what she reads and writes. And so there must be something interesting, ma'am, that kind of coaxed you or kind of encouraged you towards being an educator.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am an extremely passionate educator, and now, of course, the head of the institution here at Vasco, which is the Navy Children School. I must say, I'm heading the same school which I worked for almost 25 years ago as a primary teacher.
Right.
Life comes a full circle. For me, it definitely has on the work front. It all started back in 1996 when I was doing my course on public relations and advertising in New Delhi. It had myriad subjects which were taught to us to groom us for the corporate industry, from corporate communications to advertising, then financial relations. All these were taught as various modules in the classroom. I remember back then, post these sessions, which were held by our instructors, the class would come together in breaks, just to discuss and deliberate as to what was taught. If a concept was not understood by any one of us, I would just readily take to the blackboard and, draw these flowcharts or these diagrams to explain to my friends and peers that, look, this is what we studied in a nutshell today. Many of my friends would tell me that you have this ability to just simplify the concept so well that it is very easy to understand. I firmly believe in not using very ornate and flowery language. I keep my communication very simple and crystal clear with very simple words. So it was a compliment, and I slowly saw post-class many girls and boys reaching out to me to explain a concept or just discuss a concept as a reiteration. The seeds of teaching were sown then. Post which I moved on to the Taj corporate office at the Taj Mahal Hotel, New Delhi, where I was employed in the PR department, and I was reporting to a manager. And we had various people working for the public relations team. There too, whenever a task was given to me, along with my peers, I would just kind of take charge break down the task into smaller, simpler steps, discuss what is expected out of each one of us, and then we would take it on from there. There again, my simplification abilities and breaking down things into smaller pieces, easier to assimilate, was brought to light. Marriage happened to a naval officer, and we moved lock, stock, and barrel right here in Goa in 1997, where I worked for AT&T. I was reporting to Porvorim and to Agasai. So life was between Pasco, Agasai, and Porvorim, which was again in the marketing department. I took on teaching and grooming there also. I would also like to mention here that during my tenure at the Taj Group, I was given a small module to teach the young executives who would come in and, who were being groomed and trained for the hotel industry. So that also gave me exposure to the classroom setup. I would take very small classes on public relations, marketing. I would also assist on room service or various aspects of running a 5-star hotel. About 40 minutes were given to me after seeing how much of a difference I was tending to make in the working of the department. So there also I did a little bit of teaching.
Right.
After which, when my baby girl happened, my firstborn happened, I shifted gears into proper teaching. I got shortlisted as a primary teacher right here in this very school in 1997, 7th of December to be precise, and I joined Navy Children School Goa, where I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th standard mathematics and science, because those were my graduation subjects. I realized what a joy it was to be teaching the young ones. And I brought in a lot of difference into the classroom, maybe introducing music with math, doing away with the textbooks, and just taking the children outside for the class, employing these very small methods to kind of engage the classroom and make it a little more interesting. It was really a pleasure when a parent would come back to me and tell me, my daughter or my son loves being in your class. And every year when the class teachership would be announced, there would be this short yay and a yell in the assembly when people would come to know Anupama ma'am is our class teacher. It was such a pleasure. It was such a pleasure to see that reaction out of children. I was hooked for life. From that year onward became the journey for the last now 28 years in the school setup. I have taught in nursery schools, in Montessori classes, in the Cochin University, and the school. So I have done it all, from 3-year-olds to 26-year-olds. I have taught them all. And it has been a pleasure. That is what keeps me passionate day after day as a learner and as an educator. That's been my journey for the past 28 years.
Right. Well, we know of the famous American philosopher John Dewey. He says education is not preparation of life. Education is life itself. And it's quite amazing that we heard about Abdul Malik swimming to school. That's enough of motivation, to get into school to continue with his passion. And we've heard so much from you now, even in that short introduction. You mentioned about your passion towards education. But I believe that educators are not just ones who provide knowledge. I believe that educators are a book of knowledge themselves.
Yes, I too have many mentors. Till date, I do look up to a lot of people to groom. And if I am stuck in a professional situation, I do reach out to some people whom I have trusted over the years, worked with, reported to. They are my go-to people. And also the current naval management. It's been 4 years as the head of this institution. We report to a naval management. I have a fantastic flag officer commanding who's our chairman and our vice chairman. We share such a fantastic rapport, and they stand for uprightness, honesty, and discipline. So that itself is such a big hurdle which we seem to have taken care of. The ease with which we are able to function with the men in uniform currently is also a blessing, I would say. And that has helped me kind of settle very well, because this was the second time I worked with an armed forces school. the first
Right.
one being at Arponam near Chennai. It
Yeah.
has been a fantastic journey. So they've let me introduce my ideas with utmost honesty and independence, I would say. So
Right.
that is the real way you can actually make a difference. You know, if you want to bring in anything out of the box, you are free. You're free to introduce whatever you wish to. So that is a very, very big plus point.
Yeah, I
And of
believe.
course, like I said, mentors, even I have mentors.
No, in fact, well, I'll come to that question straight away. But you're surely, you surely touched a very interesting fact about innovation in education. Something which is so important nowadays, because I think the children are so distracted with so many things. We have the advancement in technology. That's great, which could be used in a good way and also could be misused. But there are ways, or rather the innovative ways that an educator has to adapt in today's world is probably something mandatory. I mean, we have no option but to self-educate ourselves to give better education to others. Uh,
Absolutely.
and I think you have explained that in your uh, little clip there itself. You talked about mentorship. You talked about mentors in your life. You talked about many people out there who have helped you in this journey. If I have to ask you this question, ma'am, who is that one person you would pick, or would you have a one go-to person who would be your real mentor in education? Who would that be?
My mentor in education has been one of my colleagues. She is Mrs. Surbi Joshi. She has been a peer, a friend, and a guiding light. She currently heads as vice principal. She is one of these at the schools where I've worked in Gurgaon. So she's one. I look up to her a lot. We share a lot, whereas discussion on implementation of anything is concerned. The previous principal, I have one of my previous principals, Mrs. Shriti Malhotra, who's also heading as director principal, Gurgaon. She's one of my mentors too. In fact, if I look at it, every institution that I have worked with, I have been so lucky to be associated with phenomenal women leaders in education. Whether it was the dean at the Cochin University or my center head at the Institute of Management Consultants, or any one of our chairmen whom I've worked with, or my vice chairmen I've worked with. My current leadership team, they are they are so inspiring. All my trainers whom I have learned with very recently, where we two met, where we met at the training, establishment there. So they also have inspired and motivated. My NLP practitioner, he whom I've trained and mentored under, so list is endless. And since I keep engaging myself in so many learning platforms, every person I have learned so much from. My mentor who initiated me into the voice arts business, he has been tremendous because he actually taught me the finer nuances of public speaking and voice modulation, tone, tenor. So, and that is also an aspect of making a successful leader: voice, speech, public speaking, the art of public speaking. So I would say I cannot pin down on one mentor. I have a string of them, and
Right, right.
that kind of, and for different aspects, I do reach out to different people.
The more I speak to people and I ask about mentorship, definitely that's the answer I'm used to getting now. Mentors are not just supposed to be one. As you grow in your life, you have a lot of mentors coming into your life as well.
Very
And
right.
well, pretty naturally, without realizing, you yourself become a mentor to others.
Oh,
And
yes.
that becomes a part of the journey as well, a part of the process. I believe it is something to do with teamwork.
Yes.
Together
Yes.
everyone achieves more.
Yes.
But your journey in education, from being a teacher to being a principal, and the reason I bring this up now is you talked about leadership, why you just spoke just now, and this talk show is all about leadership. We try to bring in young audience who are interested in leadership. And so you touched base on leadership and your journey from being a teacher to a principal. And how did that happen, ma'am? And what was it that the management kind of saw in you that made you a leader of the school?
Number one, this was about 8 to 9 years back when I was a senior teacher with one of the schools. And I've worked in a plethora of them because my husband has a transferable job. I would move with him, with the kids, and seek employment wherever I would get a job. About 8 to 9 years back, I was again a teacher. Whatever task would be given to me, we have so many responsibilities. Teachers are such busy women and men. So whatever task would be given to me, again, I have this innate ability for organization. Fruits of leadership is seen best if an event or an activity is planned well. So my planning abilities used to always be highlighted, that if you give Anupama a task, a lot of these little aspects would be looked into to the finest of details. From there started coming more responsibility my way. And my first leadership role was the coordinator of a primary school, where I was put in charge of looking after academics. After that, it was no looking back. I was put in charge of a primary school, then the middle school, the senior school. And once you're in the senior school, you the world just opens up, because then you come into management, literal management, from conduct of board exams to interacting with parents, to attending meetings with the top brass of an organization. That's when you actually come into your own. Mm-hmm. Also, I have along the way somehow anticipated the various areas in which a leader needs to be groomed. EQ, IQ is there. That's why you are here, because of your educational background. Sure. Working on your EQ, working on yourself as a leader. I have done so many courses out there while working, whether it was a strategic leadership management from IIM, or whether it was doing my NLP, or it was doing a soft skills. Somehow along the way, I kept grooming myself and getting a certification that, whatever I already have, I continuously need to keep building on it. Otherwise, and believe me, a leader is such a multi-dimensional role today. You cannot just put your finger on one and say, I have quality X, Y, Z, hence I'm a leader. Never. It never happens that way. You are supposed to be a Wonder Woman, I would say, or a Wonder Man, literally, to be successful as a leader. Mm-hmm. Diktats don't work. Dictatorship doesn't work in times of moonlighting, as well as side hustles and remote learning. To be able to retain your workforce and to be able to continue to make a difference in their lives takes a lot more than just getting a qualification or a PhD degree. It is so much more. So from the time I was a primary coordinator to now today heading a school, there have been multiple ways in I have continued to groom myself. But sowing the seeds back then was good planning, having an intuition or a gut feeling which says this will work, this will not work. And of course, a very, very strong people connect. You are never above anybody. You are right behind them. You have to be constantly reassuring your team, constantly telling them, I got your back. I'm right behind you. I'm right beside you. And you will never find me using the word I. It doesn't exist for me. It's always us, we are. Right. That has worked so well for me that it's all of us together. This is our domain. This is our responsibility. That has worked also so well. So if in a nutshell, I put, it is very difficult. My nutshell has to be very large, to be able to kind of put as to what has made me succeed as a leader or how. There's so many things. And every day, believe me, the number of people I met there's always a takeaway from every one of them.
Absolutely.
Every one of them,
Well,
which
well,
I kind of jot down and say, I should incorporate that.
yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, you handle a, I would say, a set of teachers of various, who come from various backgrounds, cultures, and who are, probably multi-talented in their own way,
Absolutely.
right? So,
Absolutely.
how do you, as a leader, kind of work alongside them and encourage them?
So when we are working with teachers, men and women both, like you rightly said, they handle different classes. They have different responsibilities and roles. It includes the support staff, the administrative staff, the security staff, the drivers, and of course, our teaching workforce. I am a very good listener.
Right.
Before entering into a conversation, I will always listen first. That quality I have. And whenever any person reaches out to me, I make it a point to first listen. And this is across the workforce in the school. Anybody who walks into my office will always have their say first. It will never be me. And the one line with which I start my conversations is, how can I help you? That sets the ball rolling for anyone to be comfortable. And there's a very interesting thing that I've done in my office. Whenever a staff member sees me, it is never across a large table. It is always on a side comfortable sofa,
Right.
where the whole large table of a principal's office is deleted. We sit across over a cup of tea or a cup of water or a glass of water, whatever the time the person has. We sit as two equals and then we talk.
Right.
So listening, how can I help you? Sit, be minus that large principal's table where there is that length of the table dividing us. And the fourth very important thing, my door is never shut.
Right.
It is always open.
Right.
There,
Right.
I have removed that little swing door facility which automatically clicks it into place. My door is always open. I do not like it shut at all.
Right.
Anybody can walk in anytime. They're very simple things that, but believe me, Alan, they've made so much of a difference.
Yeah.
So much of a difference. So that kind of, and after that, any other situation is very beautifully handled. Nothing is as bigger, or no problem is bigger than the person. The person is first. The problem will get automatically sorted out once you have a calm member sitting with you and talking things out. So that helps. That's my four mantras for you. That's how I start my day also.
Fantastic. Well, definitely when I visited your school, and just for the audience's sake, I was invited by ma'am to conduct a leadership workshop for the leaders of the school, meaning to say the student leaders of the school. But I didn't find that swinging door, number one. Number two, I was definitely made to sit on that sofa, very comfortable. I remember exactly what you just said, and kind of things came back to mind and memory. So, well, truly a great way of connecting to people. And especially, I think that's what makes people comfortable working with you. And we also find that, when you have such an environment, the best comes out of the team. And you don't really have to do a lot. You just have to guide them.
Absolutely. 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 Even I may come across a certain procedure which is not gone well, or it doesn't work well, or we've had problems in it. I always also introspect, did I give out the correct instructions? Did I explain to the team what was expected from them? Did I set the ball rolling? I do question before anything goes wrong. If I do not instruct the team well, if I do not tell them what is expected and how much of freedom do they have, the team will not deliver. So before pointing a finger, I always say, did I do it right? Did I give out the necessary details? So that also kind of works. Before flying off the handle and saying, please round up so and so, this didn't go well. And why didn't it go well? Because you didn't do it right. Did I do it right first? Right? So that also kind of really helps. Really helps.
Yes. I think you kind of touched base on a very important aspect of leadership, which is communication. I mean,
yes,
being a good listener is a communication skill that every leader must possess.
Absolutely.
So I think a good leader is a good listener, in other words, right?
Any day. It is the first rule of leadership. First rule. And like I said, no, times have changed. Nobody wants to be dictated. Why should they be? Aren't we here all for the same cause, our children? We are here to make a difference in their lives. And we are all here in the same capacity. We are mentors first, and then we could be administrators.
True.
For us as school leaders, we are mentors for our team. Our team looks up to us. They emulate us. Our behavior, the way we carry ourselves, the way we conduct ourselves, will set the ball rolling for so many things. And we are mentors for our team. Our team is mentors for their children and anybody who's in charge of them, right? So it is very important to follow these rules, I feel, before even getting down to official paperwork. These areas, which I also call soft skills, everybody calls them, they are all part of soft skills. Right. They are far more important. They make or break you as a leader. Yes.
Today's conversation kind of brings in a lot of light as to the challenges that the teachers faces. If you're not attached to the education world, or if you're just a student, or you don't have an educator in your family, it's very hard to understand really what do the teachers really do. They come and teach and they go home. I believe that's all about what they do. But I think there's much more attached to what the life of a teacher is.
Yes.
And certainly I've understood a lot more as well. But even the pandemic, during the COVID times and during the pandemic, we understood a lot of challenges that the teachers face.
Yes.
And I'm sure you guys had a big job in hand when it came to online education, talking to students across. How did that phase go, ma'am? I mean, quite interested to hear your part of that story during that phase.
Yes. So 20th of March, I will never forget, 20th of March, 2020, where we were called up, as an emergency meeting that we had to shut down completely and due to a national lockdown. We were ready with our results to release. There was promotion to happen. We had to start the new session. And here we are the next day, completely shut shop. The only device we had was our mobile phone, laptops, of course. And how do we do this? How do we navigate this change within 24 hours? Here is where I will applaud the entire team of Navy Children School GOA and the management. The way these teachers just sprung into action, and they immediately started exploring alternates to classroom teaching. I remember back then, one of our teachers immediately got introduced and trained on Zoom. She trained the others within those next 10 days that, we could try Zoom. Then, we could try this platform or something else. And that's when we rolled out our first Zoom class in the second week of April. Meanwhile, we declared we are already on a school management portal. So declaration of results or admissions or transfer certificates was not a problem. The problem was starting the teaching learning when the children are at home and the teachers are at home. But the staff took a lot of initiative, I would say. A very charged and a passionate team, I'm very proud to say that we have. And they swung into action. We explored various platforms. And within 3 months, we were up and running with Zoom till the time Zoom had security issues, which were later rectified by the company, right? And then that's when we signed an MOU with Microsoft. We are completely on MST and the hybrid mode continued. Yes, teachers were under a lot of pressure, like all the teachers were for the entire country. We too faced the heat. The teachers also underwent, all of them at some point in the other were down with COVID themselves. Many of our teachers lost family members, but they stood tall, rock solid beside the school. So that's when more faith was instilled into my team. Right. So I'm like this proud mother who continuously says, my children, my girls and boys, so they navigated. Definitely there were hiccups and they were always busy. There was no time for them. But the tremendous amount of learning that our team went through, and with a lot of interest, with a lot of 100% given into those trainings. Every other day we were training on a new platform, but the team accepted it very, very well. And the second thing, I realized how important an internet connection is to survive. So we had to provide, and the girls just took it on from there. After that, I had no qualms. I could sit back and have an online school grow in front of my eyes. So if you give our school 24 hours to go online, we would do it like this, thanks to my team. They would go online in 24 hours with timetables in place and classrooms in place. So we are that good now. Yes. Amazing. Well, but we managed.
Right. Well, I'm sure we all believe that things happen for a reason. And certainly the phase of pandemic that we all encountered as a one human family was for a reason. I hope that we don't wipe out that reason that easily. We seem to have forgotten very fast and very quickly. That's how man is, unfortunately. But we must do, and we must remind ourselves, we must remind each other that we had been through that phase. We had been through that phase where we couldn't even fly, we couldn't even hug each other, we couldn't even meet each other, not even your very own people. And yet I take this opportunity, just reminding myself on behalf of the whole humankind, to thank the educators, to thank the teachers, who have done so much during that particular phase, because there are a lot of criticism, there are a lot of discussions, debate, but one thing for sure, nothing could have happened. We would not have been the same if it was not for the teachers, because our children had to undergo that phase, that 2 or 3 years of difficult phase in their lives, and they needed a lot of hand holding, and that was the moment I think the teachers really stood out.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So, ma'am, speaking about students themselves, I mean, if there's one advice that you really want to give to today's generation of students, what would that advice be?
Take risks. That's it. Take risks. Sometimes just go out there and give it your 100%, even if it's a small gut feeling. Just do it. I am recently following a very young boy who is the son of the owners of Lovely Professional University. He is my latest mentor. The boy's name is Pratham Mittal. I follow everything that boy has to say. He now owns a business school, which has teachers from real business houses, right? Mr. Mittal owns Lovely Professional University, and Pratham Mittal is his son, a dynamic young boy from whom we mentors can learn so much. He uses a line which is my mantra these days: 20 minutes of insane courage. Whatever you do, if there is a doubt also, have those 20 minutes of insane courage and give those 20 seconds, sorry, I stand corrected, 20 seconds of insane courage. Give it your all. Whether it's a thought process, whether it is a choice that you're about to make, just take some risk at times. If it's there somewhere deep down, just do it, like Nike says. That is my advice to the younger generation, with respect to career choices, with respect to choices in what you want to do. Maybe it may be a far-fetched thought. Maybe nobody believes in it. Catch hold of one mentor and just do it. Take risks. It's okay to do that. And have one mentor with you so that, you can run your idea by somebody like a sounding board,
Yeah.
and then just go ahead and do it. That's my advice for the younger generation.
No,
That's,
absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've not read much or heard about Preetham Mittal. I've heard about him, but I've not, in the sense,
yes.
listened to his podcasts. But something that
Please,
I
please do catch him on YouTube or catch him on podcasts. And like I said, he's my latest mentor. There is so much to learn from the boy about practical learning, classroom teaching, how we as teachers and mentors can do things differently for our senior school education as well as college education. It's
right,
time to really get out of the box and talk about real employability skills, which will make a difference in a child's life. You have to chuck those textbooks if they are not serving. You have to get practical. You have to get down and dirty and really do things and get out of the book. I would say just move out of the book
right.
knowledge. That has to
Well,
be done. Otherwise, we'll perish. Our children will perish.
something that again, kind of very strongly comes out as a message
Yes.
is taking risks. I mean, we talk about risks and we think it's only for the people who want to be entrepreneurs or businessmen. But in general, I think it's for everyone out there to take risks, whether you're a homemaker, whether you're a student, whether you're a in the corporate world, your teacher, whoever it is, every part of your life, there is an occasion where you need to make a decision. And that reminds me of my favorite mentor, Ratan Tataji, who says, make a decision and then make it right. Once you make a decision, where you have made a decision, whether it's a right or a wrong decision, at least you have made a decision.
Wonderful. That's such a nice line to remember.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Very right.
work towards making that decision right. So,
Yes.
ma'am, we talked about a lot of things and a lot of serious stuff probably. But if I have to go on the lighter note, what's your favorite leisure or pastime? What would you indulge into during your hobby time?
My dogs are my biggest stress busters. I have 3 of them. I love hanging out with them literally. And my kids are all grown up and flown the nest, as they say. So it's my husband, me, and the dogs. So I spend a lot of time with my boys. I love dancing. I just adore dancing. And I do have a small group of friends where we get together and, dance a salsa or a merengue or a foxtrot twice in a week. That's a lovely, pastime. And of course, reading. I love reading every day, a couple of pages of a book before I go to bed. That is a pastime of mine. And last but not the least, I hike a lot. There is so much of Goa that I have discovered hiking. I'm a part of a small hiking group, and we do these on Sundays. We drive to a common point and we just hike the mountains. I've seen so much, like I said, there is so much of Goa beyond the beaches and the nightlife. There is so much of Goa that needs to be explored, and we do it while hiking. So Sunday mornings are for hiking. You'll find us driving to Satari or Sawantwadi and just parking our cars, picking up a backpack and just hiking away. So these are a couple of my favorite pastimes. Yes.
Amazing. Well, every person would have also a goal. I mean, especially a leader like you would certainly see something. I don't know whether it is far-fetched or far ahead or short-sighted. Whatever it is, I mean, the definition of goal could vary. It could be a short-time goal or a long-time goal, or that doesn't really matter. But if you have to have a goal, ma'am, what would be that ultimate goal for you in your life?
On a professional level, my short-term goal is within the next 3 months, I want to launch my own podcast. And I've been blessed with a good voice, thanks to God's grace. And I would love to reach out to so many other teachers and mentors, wherein I could talk about teaching, grooming children, grooming the next generation via a podcast. So I want to launch my own podcast within the next 3 months. I'm steadily working towards it. That's one. And I have some time to retire, about a decade to retire. I have still some time to go. Till then, I want to continue working with schools, with children. Uh, I'm going to consciously be growing my network in recruitment. I get invited to a lot of schools on their recruitment panel. I want to increase that, wherein getting the right fit for a school and a bit of talent management, that is something I want to start doing more of. I'm also part of school accreditation teams where I get invited for inspections as resource, as one of the panel members for school accreditations. I would slowly start getting more of that work. I haven't started full-fledged. 2 years of the pandemic, then trying to settle a school after a pandemic. I'm completely immersed into school. So I have now set a system and a pace. So these are these couple of things that I want to start getting into a little more. Yes. So those are some of my goals that I outlined.
Well, ma'am, I think you've given us enough time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Enjoyed every bit of this conversation because it was not just talking to you, it was so much of learning for myself. Right from the open door to the risk-taking abilities to the listening ear that you have, and to making the person comfortable by just having the person sit across the table and having a chat over a coffee or a cup of water. It's amazing. I mean, this is the sort of leaders that we love to interview, love to talk to, and because we know that just listening to podcasts such as this is encouraging for the young leaders out there. I believe that every person is a leader. It's just that they need to thrive on their leadership qualities and recognize the leadership qualities that they have. And this little journey that we had today, 30 minutes or whatever time we spent together, we talked so much about that. Wonderful talking to you as usual. Very humble of you to have accepted my invitation. Being a principal of a prestigious school, I say this with all my heart. A big thank you, a lot of gratitude. And I believe that doesn't just come in any sense, but naturally for a person like you to have accepted this invitation because you just believe in empowering the world. So, so less said about you. And yet, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
The pleasure was all mine. I enjoyed talking about so many things. I don't write them down, but this is my regular day, and it was really nice talking about the journey and what life has been for me so far so good. All thanks to the Almighty, and here's to fantastic more years ahead for all of us as trainers, teachers, mentors. And you like rightly said, it's a huge responsibility, all the more in present times. Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely. And audience, thank you for being a part of this journey, this little walk we had with Mrs. Anupama Mehra, the principal of Navy Children School Vasco. It was wonderful talking to her. I'm sure you guys have picked up a lot. We surely will look forward to that podcast that you're planning to premiere, ma'am, very soon. We're really looking forward to that. All the best to that. And a lot more years of Mrs. Anupama Mehra to the world. So, audience, thank you very much. Continue to listen in to this podcast that we have as Ground Zero Everyday Leaders, an event, a show or a talk show that portrays leaders on the ground who have so much to share from their own personal life. Thank you very much for your time. Namaste, ma'am. Thank you.
Mrs. Anupama Mehra firmly believes that if one makes their passion their career, one is unstoppable. She's worked before in the corporate sector with various public relation firms, training and mentoring departments before joining the education industry. And no wonder we could actually feel that, or rather hear that from the interview we had today. The zeal, the passion that she had in teaching. A postgraduate in zoology with a bachelor's degree in education, Mrs. Mehra has been the leader on the ground for a long, long time. We have a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn from such leaders. And I believe tonight we have definitely had the opportunity to pick up a leaf or two. Wishing Mrs. Mehra and her family the very best in life on behalf of Leadership Studio and all of us here listening to this podcast. This is Alan D'Souza signing off.